When I was interviewed to come into TVC as Deputy Director of Programs, I had told my interviewer, the MD at the time, Nigel, that I have a show in mind which I wanted to host. And he was like, that's fine. You know, he had actually given me 30 days to develop a report that would show the work I wanted to do. And the show of a women sitting down together was one of it, and was approved. One of the first things I did was bringing my team from High TV. You know, I brought in Akande Olafusi, Yinka Jijedidu, Shion Arioye, Fumi, so many people there, my close circle in High TV. Those are the guys that I brought in to work with me. I told them, I sat them down together. I said, listen, we have a vision. Our vision is to develop a new channel. We need to rebirth this channel. We give it a new name, new colors, not new name, new identity, new colors, new programs. We started seeing how we can rejuggle some of the programs.
How it started was I came to audition for an entertainment show.
If you know you're bold and beautiful, audition for this.
I was just sitting in my house one day and I got a phone call from Mr. Lukman Musa.
And so I did my 1-minute video. And interestingly, I found that thousands of women across Nigeria had done a 1-minute video. So I had no hopes of getting on, but I was quite surprised when I was asked to come for a physical audition.
When I came, I was in the makeup room. They had to, touch me up.
I didn't know what the show was about.
I remember coming there and there were so many people there, and I sat down beside a lady who had worked at NTA for 15 years. I was like, I'm just here for the numbers. I'm just here for statistics. Nobody's going to even look twice at me.
Actually, a friend of mine, Carol, and I had been thinking of hosting a TV show.
At the end of the conversation, I found out that from our card that I was talking to Mariah Folabi Brown, and she was the Deputy Director of Programs for TVC.
Mariah looked at me and was like, would you like to come if I invite you? And I'm like, yes, I'm up for it.
And how I got into the show was by stumbling into Mariah's then temporary office that looked like a reception. And from that point, we did several auditions.
After a couple of months, I didn't hear from Mr. Musa. I said, oh, don't worry, we're working on it. And so subsequently, they used to call me to come, would record the show. Me, I didn't know they were doing private auditioning that time. They didn't tell us, so they just say, come, we are just doing recording to see. And then one day, on the 29th of May, was our first show.
When they advertised for the auditions, I jumped on it. Immediately, that advert, I jumped on it. I think I sent my mail that day, and I was called for an audition. And my parents took care of my child for the first 1 week. It was in January 2014, and for that first 1 week I kept going. From the first auditions, I was called to come back the very next day, and the very next day, all the shortlisting, I made it to the final list. Then we were shortlisted to 2 ladies eventually, and we were all invited to live auditions the week after. It was so fast.
And then they gave me newspapers to read, and I was wondering, what is my business with newspaper and coming to talk about how I can rap and do some things,
I got to meet Mariah with a host of staff at the audition, and they asked me questions, I answered, fingers crossed, I left. And then, to my surprise, I was asked to come back for a live audition. I had made it among the best 10 people who had auditioned. I could not believe my luck.
I scaled through the first audition, so I waited in an office to stay out of the sun. And I stumbled into the office. I was having a conversation with someone I did not know at the time. After all the gist, the person told me I could not have qualified for the audition.
And then the show started. It was a good one. And after the show, Mariah looked at me and was like, would you like to come if I invite you? And I'm like, yes, I'm up for it, because the conversation was so enlightening. We had different views. I think we had a guest that day. Yes, I can remember. And it was good. It was the first time I was experiencing being on live TV like that, and it was fun. So that was how I started coming as a guest co-host, and finally became a host on the show.
The funny part of my story is that I wasn't actually picked. Someone was picked, but 2 weeks after, I was called back by the producers, and they said, why don't you come for like a probation period and let's get to see you more. And that was how my journey on YourView began.
We didn't even have a name at the time. We had no clue. In fact, interestingly, we didn't have a name until the day we were about to start the show. It was while I was on set, the producer of me was in my ear telling me, are you sure you want to go with this name? Because we're going to go with the morning show. So the idea then was to replace the morning show at the time with our show. But I told them I wanted it to be called YourView, which was actually an offshoot of the View in the US, which I had watched, and I was there in America when they had the opening of that show, and I fell in love with that show, and I'm like, when I get to Nigeria, I have to do this kind of show. So in my mind, I already have the name of YourView, but my team members were like, no, we can't have a show called YourView. What is that? Please, it's the morning show. Tinka and Fumi were in my ears up until the start of the show. And I said, Uncle, it is YourView, you know, and it was quite, and I told them to use the montage because I asked them to do the both montage for this morning show and YourView. And I insisted to the few seconds to 9 o'clock, I said, use YourView.
Before I could say Jack, I was on TV from a law court, law practice, quiet life to the media world. There's so many things we are grateful for as a show, as a group, yes. We've also outgrown our differences, we've learned to understand ourselves. So a lot of things that I would celebrate. I started the Sinoshaw Law Firm in 2016 after I joined the show as well. And it's doing so well now. I'm so proud of where we are. I'm looking forward to more growth.
The show has opened up a huge platform. I've met several people. I can brag that I've interviewed several governors. I can brag that I've interviewed the last 3 governors of Lagos State. Bragging rights for interviewing the First Lady of Nigeria that is passing out now.
Each time Babatunde Raji Fashola was on the show, because as a mentor, he's someone I look up to, and then he inspires, continues to mentor me, and he's so giving. And so Babatunde Raji Fashola, the former governor of Lagos State, former minister for Power, Works and Housing, and just the last administration, former minister for Works and Housing, has always stood out for me anytime he's on the show. I have butterflies when he's coming on the show.
We've had so many guests, I don't think I can think of one without offending the other, because we've had so many fantastic guests on the show. My brother, Femi Kuti, I was on the show. My nephew, Made Kuti, I was on the show when Fashola was governor. That was a good guest too. Charles Okocha, we're global now. I really love that show. And then the young boy, Korede Bello. I don't get a lot. God willing.
Picking a favorite guest on the show is like picking a favorite child, because everyone that's come on the show has made an impact, has opened up my mind, has given me new perspective. So it's really hard for me to pick the favorite person. I have an appreciation and respect for Mr. Fashola, the Minister for Works and Housing, and that was because of how forthcoming he is when it comes to matters of governance. So before YourView, usually when you would talk to government officials, they would make it seem like you're asking questions that are way above you. Nothing can be explained, nothing can be understood, because only a group of people have that understanding.
Quite a number of guests that I really like their energy. I like Omawumi, the singer. So it will be favorite guests. I won't just mention one person. I like Princess, the comedian. These are people I know when they come on the show, we are going to have a good laugh. We've had some prominent guests, coming on the show and sharing with us and giving insightful information across the conversation.
I've had so many memorable moments, but I think the one that really stands out is a surprise birthday that was thrown for me by the ladies of YourView. I've never really celebrated my birthday like big or anything, but on this particular day, I was on the show, and at the end of the show, guess what? Someone with a saxophone comes out. The ladies come off, the ladies that were not on the show come off from their hiding places, and I could not believe it. I felt like a princess. I was celebrated on my birthday on the show, and for the whole of Nigeria to see.
We're counting down towards our 10th anniversary, and I met somebody saying that I have children just because I watched your show and I met someone who helped me through my surrogacy journey. Finished, So for me, that'll be my most impactful show.
I would say the funniest on the show would be me, but YK brings all the laughter all the time. YK brings drama. I've had videos between myself and the ladies, YK sharing some experiences, making us laugh. It would be...
Getting the ladies was not an easy task because I was doing so many shows, Entertainment Splash. We had christened Launch Splash at the time to be Entertainment Splash, and we wanted young people, and that's how Tokwe came in at the time. But I was specific on the kind of show I wanted. I didn't want a show of journalists. I didn't want anybody who had experience on television. I wanted somebody, fresh people. Many of our TV shows had lots of men talking about governance, politics, business, life. And I'm like, women too have opinions. We were quite rusty the first few years, trust me, we had no clue. In fact, we used to get complaints from politicians. They have no idea what is going on in Nigeria. Why are they talking like that? But it was hard the first few years, but eventually we were able to adjust, and that's how YourView started, and it's been like that since then.
Picking one particular favorite show would be tough, but I would say that, like many fans that watch, everybody can pick the one they like. I couldn't even pick just one.
It's quite difficult to pick a favorite guest, but the truth is that every single guest that come on that show is a favorite guest. Another memorable part was when the First Lady was coming on our show. Now, at the time, we had never had any First Lady anywhere come on the show, and we were so scared. They're like, we're about to see the First Lady. You know, I remember the ladies then, what are we going to wear? Who's coming with us to makeup? Are we going to Abuja? And we now found out she was coming to Marina in Lagos. We're excited. In fact, even our spouses were there to support us. You know, it was a very, very memorable time for us when we felt really, we felt like we're doing something good, because if the First Lady of the nation was willing to sit amongst the ladies of YourView, that moment for me was very instructive of the kind of impact we've had in nation building. So I was really excited. It was a very memorable time for me, and I'm pretty excited about that moment even till now.
My favorite time on the show was after I gave birth to my child, and people didn't know that I was pregnant all through on the show from beginning till the end. So I think that, you know, Nigerians tend to like, I felt I coded it well. People in the studio obviously knew, but a lot of our fans didn't know I was pregnant. So for me, that would be like interesting that I hid my pregnancy well all through the show, and I was on the show a day before giving birth. So that would be my favorite time on the show.
We share so many stories on that show. Those of us that like to gist our personal things. There's this story Nima shared one time on the show where she was at an event and some girls that had properties in front and behind were dancing close to her husband, and she had to jump up from wherever she was sitting.
We went for one party in London, me and my husband. And because me, I don't like public, I sat down shopping chic.
They will reach out.
And then I heard the band calling my husband's name, calling the band where he works, hailing him. And some 3 air pass. These people got carry behind, be front, be everything. They come like, she go all this way long. They do everything like this. I look at myself, I said, Nima, how many times did I call you? Don't be sleeping.
So you got up?
I got up. I don't say that's in public. I use my somebody.
I'm the wife, bro.
I'm scared everywhere.
I had a good laugh on the show.
I think the most memorable moment for me was when we interviewed the Chibok girls' parents. It was very, heart-wrenching, and it was a very passionate show. So I think I would call that my most memorable.
This one is my funniest moment on the show, and we're talking about a cabal in the villa, and Mama Dara's name came up quite a bit, and BC was talking about it, and she said, "What is that woman doing in that place? She should go back to her house. Doesn't she have a husband?" Then we told her, we're like, we're a bit confused, like, what's happening? They're like, Mama Dara. We're like, no, it's not Mama Dara, it's Mama Dara. She was like, oh, I don't know. And what I love about her is nothing phases her, and she just moved on, like, okay, well, Mama Dara should go back to his house,
One of my most memorable moments was when I removed my wig on national television. Even I was shocked because I didn't plan to. I can't remember the topic we're talking about, but I just felt the need to show that, listen, I can do without a wig, So I took it off, and that video went viral. Everybody was talking about it. It was a major, major memorable moment that I could never forget. Even till tomorrow, I still get people sending me that video, like, Mariah, how could you take your hair off on national TV? Yeah, so.
Low point of the show will be October 21st, 2020, and it will be 7 years after being on the show and feeling like we've contributed a whole lot, speaking truth to power, adding value to people's lives, contributing our quota, and we were now the victims of being attacked by people who just felt that we represented something that they did not agree with. So yes, that was a very low point of, on the show.
It was really a very touching time for all the ladies of YourView and TVC as a whole, because the place was really attacked. We had people who got injured, you know, had cars got damaged. The ladies, a few of them were just barely able to escape, and it was really a low moment.
It was heartbreaking. It was so sad. It was so sad for me, especially because I felt that the ladies of YourView have always used that platform and their voice to speak up for the regular Nigerian, for the Nigerian just like you and I. And we have always spoken up to government, said the truth, and especially when it had to do with the NSAS conversations, I believe we're one of the very first platforms to allow for people to come and express their views. And social media started a false narrative that we were supporting something very different. At first we ignored it because we thought no one who had watched the show for as long as they had watched the show would question, you know, what our stands were.
One of the lowest points of the show was when I said my husband can never bath my children. That was a very low point because I was broken, because I got so condemned by the public, viewers, friends, families, even loved ones condemned me on this matter. I had very few people on my side. It's worthy of note to say that I had a few mentors who stood by me during that period. So that morning, the current First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, called me and told me she was in camp, that she's going to gather a few pastors, they're going to pray along with me. She said, I want you to go on set and I want you to apologize to your husband on national TV. In my mind, I'm like, hey? He said, yes, because you must apologize. I knew I owed him an apology, but I just didn't think I should do it on TV. She was when I instructed me to do it on TV. And then I now called the director of news, Stella Dean Jacob, to ask her, like, okay, Senator Tinubu just called me and told me to do this. What do you think? She said, Mariah, I think it's a good idea. I think you should apologize to him on TV. So I went on TV that day, the next day, and I apologized. And I didn't plan to cry. I was going to comport. In fact, I was specifically asked to comport myself and not cry. But I did the exact opposite. As I started like this, I broke down on TV. And it was a really, really down time for me because my husband didn't deserve the kind of attention he got concerning because of the kind of person he is. You know, he's a man of God. He's the kind of person that reveres God and all that. So I was shocked when everybody started calling him names that did not belong to him. So it was a down time for the family, but I'm thankful they stood by me. My family members stood by me. But you know, it was hard, but it took us time to evolve. Yes, he didn't exert or express his anger outside for the public. Internally, I knew that he was mad at me, trust me.
Lessons learned on the show. Number one, current affairs is very important. Before I started the show, I was not current. Today, I read papers, I listen to the news. I can't believe that when you come into my room, my TV is on the news channel. You know, I like to hear news all the time. I like to know what is happening. So I think that's been my most important lesson that I've learned on the show is being current, knowing what's happening in the government.
Be comfortable enough to air your opinion and stand by it. And when the backlash comes, it's okay. I've also learned that people will hail you and tomorrow they will yab you. I see the show 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, different people on the panel still doing what it was originally meant to do, adding value, speaking truth to power, providing platform for women to express themselves. I'm excited about what the future holds, and I'm excited that we're 10 years down the line.
I've learned not to be so reactive, to you know, see the issues as it is, you know, and find a way to not take it personal. Yes, I'm still learning not to take issues personal. So sometimes on the show when I get comments, fans sending direct attacks to me, probably because I've said something that they do not believe in. I used to be very reactive, but these days I'm learning to just read the comments and ignore and move on to something else, because most times it's not about me, It's about what they are feeling at the time that they are sending the comments.
For me, I need to say this especially. When I joined the show, I would say, I was still finding my voice and finding my confidence. But having been on the show for a while, I will say definitely my voice has, my voice is stronger and my confidence, even more tangible. And I've learned that it's because you show up every day and do not pay too much attention to the small mistakes. If you show up the next day, you do better. And every day you show up, you just do better. And so I've learned that, you can build confidence. And whatever it is that you're not good at today, as long as you're showing up and you're consistent, you will get better and you will do better.
I'm a people's person, check on people, visit people, and all of that. And, I've learned on the show how much more important it is to do that, to stand up for somebody and defend them, care about them, even though you're not from the same family, bond with them. For somebody that has plenty best friends, I've learned to best friend the ladies as well. I've learned patience, and it's improved my view to life. And for political reasons, we see when you express an opinion, people don't necessarily take it like that. I've learned to just leave you with your own opinion and fly with mine. The show is 10 years, and we did not know we would go this far.
Grateful to God for the platform, grateful to God for Morayo putting the show together. I'm grateful to all the successive leaders that we've had for TVC, because if you don't have the platform to house the show, you don't have a show. So grateful to all the directors that we've had, the CEOs of TVC from hand to hand and where we are so far. Grateful for our current directors, the team behind the scene, the team that started the show, and the team grooming the show right now. I don't think that there is one person that will say, oh, I am the one. YourView is successful because many people have put in their sweat, their blood, their energy into contributing into this show. And for everyone at one point or the other who has contributed to this show, thank you. God bless you.
The show is beyond whatever plans Morayo Afolabi Brown had for the show. The show has grown way beyond her. I see the show growing way beyond the individuals right now. More people will come in, more people will be a part of the show, and we will look back and say, I was a part of YourView. I am grateful for the opportunity to be one of YourView ladies. I am grateful for meeting Morayo Afolabi Brown. I'm grateful for her ability to spot talent and say, okay, I think you can do well here and I think you can do well there. I'm grateful that she answered her calling. If she hadn't set up the show, maybe I won't be here today. I'm grateful for the team that worked timelessly over and over to ensure that we have a good and an amazing show. I'm grateful for the producers, I'm grateful for the directors, the ones before, the ones that are going to come. I'm grateful for the makeup artists, those people behind the scenes that put this together, the cameramen, everybody who is involved in bringing YourView to the spotlight. I'm happy to be a part of the team.
In the 10th year already, YourView has become a legacy product, a legacy program. When you talk about our country today and talk about what's mainstream, you would call YourView. And some of us have become household names. And as exhilarating as that can be, it's also quite humbling. And it is humbling because we know that it's beyond who we are today, but just the words that we have spoken, the platform that we have, and able to use our voice. So I do see in 20, 30, 50 years, women much younger than us, our children, doing this. And yes, so in a few more years or many more years to come, I just think that we'll be bigger, more impactful, and we will change the world. I am so appreciative that we as a team are working together, not only to give you good content, but also to give you impactful and wholesome content. So I appreciate that I'm part of this group. I appreciate that I'm a part of a positive group like ours.
My dream for YourView is to be like Barbara Walters. Wake up in the morning, take a cup of tea, relax, put up your TV and watch the ladies of YourView expressing their views. I want to be 19 years old watching YourView ladies talking truth to power, speaking. I want to see different generations of YourView. I want to see women continually express their opinions in different ways. I love the fact that since YourView started, there's been lots of replications of the same format. Many people have started shows where women sit down together and gather. That's a success to YourView. That's something we're so proud of, and we hope that this will continue. So it's a good platform where people have been able to show that we can actually agree to disagree. We're a nation because we're diverse. So my dream is for YourView to continually to go beyond me and the ladies who are there today. Our hope is that when we are 90, we're seeing young people taking over the show. Oh, I would love to appreciate all those who have made YourView possible. The very first person I must acknowledge is Mr. Lemi Olalemi. He was the former managing director of TVZ. He was one man that stood by us. No matter how things went down, Mr. Lemi will always come and remind us that, listen, I'm behind you. You're going to make this happen. Don't mind the people outside. Don't mind the forces. I am with you. So, Mr. Lemi, thank you. I also like to thank the current managing director, Mr. Andrew Hanlon. He's been a great support because he provides a platform for us and has helped the show to evolve. He has been there to give us all the necessary support. Also, the current director, Folari, thank you so much for your continuous support and grooming us, the ladies. I must not forget the late RDJ. RDJ also helped us with our speaking, helped us with our posture, he helped us with how we carry the tea, all the various things we see on TV. And to the team that started YourView, I must acknowledge them. They have been so amazing. The very first producer was Fumi. She was the very first producer. Me and her used to fight, you know, but she was a leader. Then Mr. Lukman Musa was one that helped us with the planning of the show, as in the format itself was developed by myself and Mr. Musa. We had Yinka Jijedu who came up with the design. We had Sheon Warioye at the time. Everybody was a team, and it was a team effort. Adeola Fusi was also part of the development of the show. And now today we have the team who has been taking on the burden, Mr. Dola Kwamara Desa with his team. So many other people who have every single day, and I cannot forget the men behind the cameras. They are always there, Mr. Akin and his entire team, and the makeup artists. Thank you so much, guys. You've always been there. We've had so many makeup artists that have been there from the beginning, and they're still there. So the team, 10 years of YourView, and it's not just 10 years, it's every single day for 10 years, Monday through Friday. It's not beans. It's not beans. Thank you to the entire team. God bless you. Thank you so much for upholding the dream of YourView, and we hope that as YourView progresses to 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, many of you will be proud of what you started 10 years ago.
Stay tuned. YourView will be right back.